What up, folks? What it do? Welcome to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast with Mike Goodwin. Yes, thank y'all for tuning in. And again, I say thank you. This podcast is where I try to dispense some of the wisdom and knowledge that I've gained over the years. And I've been here for a number of years. And today I want to lead off with the best advice ever. And the best advice ever today is always email your slides in advance. Now, this may be a little specific to people that keynote or do presentations, but I think just in general, I'm not thinking just professional speakers. I mean, just if you're doing a presentation, send those slides ahead in advance. And I've been bitten by this most recently because I'm kind of a little bit agitated about sending the slides in advance. Sometimes I kind of, like, hey man, I'm gonna have the slides, but it don't need to be a month in advance. It could be the week of. That's why I get a little antsy when somebody 3 months out and they asking me for slides. Like, hey man, chill. Now, the reason I give you this advice is this recently happened to me. I typically will send the slides in advance because people will ask for them. In this occasion, the organization that was having me and didn't ask for the slides, so I didn't send them. Strike one. But I do typically carry a memory stick where I will transfer the slides to the memory stick, and I would do because I'm a Mac, as you can see, but I will export it into PowerPoint. So I have two. Well, this particular weekend, I had my memory stick, uploaded my slides, went down to where they were having the conference, and I don't think the person accurately ejected my memory stick. They just took it out. And I think this memory stick is one of the ones where when you take it out, it erases everything that was on it. Now, the things that were on it, I have an original somewhere. So I don't think I was working off this memory stick in terms of there were original files on there that I needed. But when the guy took it out and then they put it back in and they used somebody else, they used somebody else's computer, it was telling me that the file was empty. The folder was empty. And I think that what had happened was when they put it in the computer and didn't eject it properly, it erased the files. Now, in most cases, I would have had my laptop with me in the room that I was in. I would have traveled from my hotel room, to the ballroom with my laptop, but I did not. And I was in one of these hotels. It was huge. It was the Omni Homestead in Hot Springs, Virginia. I feel like Thomas Jefferson founded this hotel. I mean, it was spectacular, and it had an old 1776 feel to it in more ways than one. But it was quite a trek from the ballroom back to my room. So if I would have emailed the slides, I wouldn't have been dealing with any of this. So now I'm down there. My memory stick's empty. They were like, well, can you email it? Yes, but my laptop's in my room. So I got to make this hike. And it's far. It's far relative to hotels and ballrooms. In most cases, you go to elevators around the corner, you go up to the third floor, I go get and I walk back around. Now, that's not what this was. There was president's lounges and billiards table and chess and a whole foyer. Like it wasn't even a foyer, it was a lobby and a foyer, a la foyer. It was far. I did a lot of walking, and I'm already suited and booted. I got all my things. I done sprayed the cologne. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to execute the play. Now I got to trek all the way back to my room. I email, and then here's the other reason you send it in advance, because I sent it from my room, but then I didn't really have a way of having a surety that they gotten it, because the woman had given me a card, and I text the number, but hey, did you get the slides? But I think that was an office number, but the email never bounced back, or the text didn't bounce back. So maybe it's a home. It was a work phone that maybe they didn't bring to the conference. I don't know. But if you're doing a presentation in which you're using slides, please send your slides ahead of time. Don't have it on your computer. You can upload your computer, like send them the slides. And then at the end of the day, you still may be able to upload your computer and all of that, but it may just save you a lot of grief and steps if you were to email your slides a few days in advance, not even the day, like enough time for them to download it, do the clicker thing, make sure it works, make sure the images fit the screen, that they're doing all the things. So that's the best advice ever. Email your presentation. If you're working with a group in college, email your presentation to the other group members. Just don't show it with a memory stick, because somebody may eject it improperly, and now your memory stick is empty. That's the best advice ever. Now, have you ever seen something that made you question how you go about living life? Have you ever seen somebody do something and it caused you to say, hey, man, I might want to reevaluate this? Well, that happened to me. That happened to me recently. As recently as of yesterday. So yesterday, I enjoy basketball immensely. I'm sure I've said this time and time again. Well, now we all are in the midst of the Olympics. The Olympics are happening, and there's Olympic basketball. And I'm going to try my best to watch the games, both men and women, of the United States. Now, I may catch some other countries. Like I did watch, who did I watch the other day? I watched Brazil and France play. Yeah, because Victor Wimby, what you call him. I don't have his name all the way down like I do Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? So I watched Brazil, the Brazil and France play. I've been watching a lot about France. I got a lot of French influences happening in my life right now. I've watched, like I might have mentioned, I watched Franklin on Apple. I'm watching the show on Netflix. And you're going to judge me. Judge away. Emily lives in Paris, or Emily in Paris. I immensely enjoyed it. It's very strange. I can't not enjoy this anymore. So I'm watching that. I'm also, looking at the Olympics. So I'm watching the French compete in basketball. Well, yesterday I'm watching the women, the United States play Japan, which I believe in the last Olympics, I guess it was 4 years ago in Tokyo, that was the gold medal game, the United States and Japan. Now, in men's basketball, internationally, the gap is almost non-existent. I mean, in terms of the skill. I think I was looking at the Olympics, and they showed a graphic, like there's 68 non-American NBA players that were on various teams in the Olympics. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 68. That's a lot of ball players. So the margin of victory, especially for the guys, seem a little less. There's not a huge margin. I think That's not the case in the women's game. I think the women's game, I think this is their opportunity to win their 8th gold medal, if I'm not mistaken. So I do think we're pretty much head and shoulders in women's basketball. I haven't watched the soccer a little bit. I watched the U.S. play Germany. We beat Germany 4-1 the other day. So I really, I'll watch the Olympics if it's on. I'm not stopping everything to watch the Olympics unless it's the basketball. I'm shutting it down to watch the basketball. And I'm watching the women, Americans playing Japan. And what made me reconsider how I'm going about life is how much joy and happiness the Japanese players were playing with. I'm talking about the players, the coaches, the fans. Initially, I never felt like the game there was a real threat for Japan to win the game. I never felt like, oh my goodness, it's going to be very difficult for the United States to pull us out. I never felt like that. But Japan was very scrappy, and they kept it very close in that first half. They hit a lot of threes. We just were not hitting a lot of outside shots. They were getting some turnovers. They just kept making it close. The United States were going to run. They'll be up 10. Japan would get a steal, hit a three, get another steal, hit a three. And now it's a 4-point game. Right? And that happened a few times. But the way in which the Japanese play it, they just play like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing ever. Like, they were celebrating almost getting a turnover. Like, they didn't even get the steal. Their energy, their enthusiasm, it was astonishing to watch. And it made me look at them and say, hey, man, I probably need to have a little bit more fun in my life because I'm doing something I enjoy. I am doing something that fulfills me and it brings me great joy and happiness. But my facial expression and my energy level was not looking like those Japanese players, man. My goodness. I was embarrassed for me that, hey, man, I need to really reevaluate how I'm approaching stuff, man, because these women, they were playing as if they had nothing to lose. They were down 20 and they were still high-fiving, meeting each other at half court. Like, I've been on teams that have been losing and nobody's high-fiving and smiling. And there's this level of excitement just to play the game. No, we try to win. And if we're not winning, we're not happy. Man, those folks were not winning, and they were probably more happy than the American players. So shout out to the women's basketball team in Japan. Those women made me reevaluate. Look, I'm not doing this right because they were having a blast. So I'm gonna have to download some clips or something, just constantly remind myself, be like Japan. Give myself some notes. Sometimes I write things to keep me mindful. Be like Japan might be a theme that I'm gonna incorporate because, yo, I'm like, y'all down 15, and they just, oh my goodness, they hit a shot, and they'll call a timeout. You would think they got it down to single digits, and they were still down 20, and they just outstanding energy, man. Shout out to the women's Japan basketball Olympic team. Shout out. Much respect. But I think the American team, I know somebody plays Wednesday at 3:00. I think it's the men. I know somebody plays again on Saturday at 11:15. That might be a little bit more of a challenge. I have a show, Columbus, Ohio. There might be a little bit of a challenge. I think there's a Wednesday at 3 and maybe a Thursday at 3. I actually moved. I had an appointment on Monday at 3:00, and I moved it because I was like, nah, I gotta watch these women. I watch these women play this game. I watch these women play this ball. And I'm glad I did. I'm so glad I did. Now, what I've been one of the challenges, I guess this would be like a mind of Mike, something I've really been thinking about recently. And I think I'm a little excited, but I'm also not very certain how I'm going to deliver this or even package it, right? So I'm in this point where I'm looking at the bigger picture of, again, I mentioned maybe a couple of podcasts ago that we're hiring a PR firm or someone to do some PR work. And in doing that, there's a lot of questions that are sent to me and asking a number of things. Who's my audience? What's my mission? What I see myself in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What are my belief system? What motivates me? It was great exercise and communicating my brand. And one thing I've been thinking about, and I've thought about quite a bit in my career, and I'm trying to figure out a way to do material on stage, because I'm sort of I'm doing this bit about Bill Cosby, but it wasn't really about Bill Cosby. But now I think there's an opportunity to talk about Bill Cosby. Well, the bit was in the way that I'm doing the bit currently, I'm talking about the slap more than anything. I'm talking about it's leading me into discussions about, I think what gets me to this point is I'm talking about the slap. I'm talking about legacy. I'm talking about the slap. But then I talk about, I have a unique perspective on people getting slapped on stage, right? And the overall point that I'm making is, if I was on stage using language, it wouldn't be unrealistic for me to think that my mother would come on stage and slap me in the mouth. That's kind of a long way with the bit was initially what I was communicating. But in the midst of talking about that, one of the points I make is I don't use language, because I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I conduct myself and my words in a righteous manner. But I also make the point that I grew up not being able to use regular words. Forget cuss words, right? We definitely could not cuss in my house growing up. And in my house, the only person that was probably cussing regularly was my father. My mom was a believer, a Christian woman, still is. So I'm talking about, I couldn't say regular words like fart, right? Couldn't say shut up. But then that leads me to this point where people ask me, and this is where Bill Cosby comes in. People always ask me, how do I work clean, or how it's got to be difficult to do clean comedy. And the way I do it, when they ask me the question, if you're familiar with Eddie Murphy's Raw, his stand-up from the early 80s, Eddie Murphy did a story where he got a call from Bill Cosby confronting him about his vulgar language on stage. So I do that voice because I feel like when people ask me when they ask me that, hey man, how do you do the clean comedy? I feel like I hear it in Cosby's voice. So on stage, I'm like, people are like, hey man, how do you do clean comedy? But I hear, how do you do the clean comedy on the stage at your show? I've been looking at your show and you're not been using the language. You're not been cussing. You didn't use the word the flim. You flim flam flim flam flim. Now, uh, Eddie Murphy has a great Bill Cosby impersonation. So it's an impersonation of me impersonating Eddie Murphy impersonating Bill Cosby, which is funny to me because I'm not impersonating Bill Cosby. I'm impersonating Eddie Murphy doing Bill Cosby. So that to me, that tickles me. That makes me laugh, right? And it keeps me interested in what I'm doing on stage. And it's funny to me. It's when I'm doing this, I'd like to talk to you about the words that you use in your show. I got a son, my son Enos wants to get some tickets come to your show. My wife, Camille, is in charge of the tickets. So I just that people sometimes ask me, do I impersonate people? And I haven't as an act. Like I had a mean Bill Cosby. Not, I can do Eddie Murphy's Bill Cosby. I really been eating some Jello pudding pop, and my wife, my son Enos, and Claire Huxtable. So I had the Eddie Murphy's impersonation of Bill Cosby. I did a mean Bernie Mac back in the day. I hadn't done Bernie in a while. Let me tell you something. I ain't scared of you. Kick it. And I used to really do a nice Bernie. Shut up. But Bernie got a lot. You gotta dodge the vulgarity. So it's hard to do a clean version of Bernie, right? So I did Bernie, but I would do like I have a mean Coach Henry Stratford, but people don't know who Coach Henry Stratford is. That was my high school track coach. I used to impersonate Coach. Great, like spot on. Rest in peace, Coach passed a few years ago. But Coach would say, "Oh, I don't understand you guys. A lot of you guys, you don't want to come to practica. You want to smoke the weeds, and you want to drink the booze. But you don't want to come to practica. But you want to run in the meet. But you got to come to practica." Like, and that legitimately was Coach Straff. And then we had another coach, Coach Boykin. Let me get on my horses. Let me get on my. Coach Boykin was a coach that coached track, but he smoked cigarettes at the track practice. Let me get on my horses. We're gonna do 2 400s and 3 800s. Like, Coach, why is you smoking at track practice? I need to put that in my stand up. Because I do talk about how teachers smoke in the classroom. I legitimately had a track coach that was smoking at track practice. Oh my goodness. So I can do those, but I'm trying to do Denzel Washington, Chris Rock and Kevin Hart. I've never attempted. I've never tried to do those folks, but I do think that there are. I just think that's just not my. Maybe there's a bit that I can bring a voice in, but that's not my speed. That's just not what I'm. Even if I could do it, I think I would. I don't know, because you want to. I was just talking to a comedian friend of mine, and I was telling her, "Hey man, you got to put all this stuff on the table. If you can sing, you can dance as a comic entertainer, you got to put all this stuff on the table." I do think personally, if I could do voices of people, I probably would let that be my own little secret for the people that knew me. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should try some voices. But I've been thinking a lot about that as it relates to the void that Bill Cosby has left in comedy, and I feel like I'm filling a portion of that void. I've said it before. Man, there's 80-year-old folks. Man, we got folks that are 70, 80, 60, 70, 80 that come to my show. There's 30-year-olds, there's 20-year-olds. And I remember going to a Cosby show, and there were 3 generations. They would have their grandchild, their son, and the father. Like the grandfather would all be at the show. And it was such, man, it impacted me. And internally, I was like, man, I want that. Like, I want what Cosby had. I want that type of influence. I want folks to look at me as that. Like, man, this guy's hilarious, but he's intellectually sound, and he's a family guy and all the things. But what I don't think that I know that I don't hear enough talked about in comedy is integrity. I've met some of the most, I don't even know what the word is when you don't have integrity. There was unfortunately in comedy, I've met some of the least integral people that I know. And it's sad to even say that. And I've met a lot of people, because again, I don't want to say that comedy in general is just a bunch of people without integrity, because I know people that are in other groups and they don't have integrity. But I don't know if I look at that group like, oh, all the guys that graduated from my school that wear yellow shirts don't have integrity. Whatever. I do feel like in comedy, a lack of integrity is not surprising to me, unfortunately. And I don't want that to be the case for me. I think more than anything, as much as I want to be entertaining, I want to be inspiring, I want to be motivational. I also want to have high character and great integrity. I want to be a man of integrity, a person of integrity. I want to operate in the spirit of integrity as much as I want to operate in the spirit of excellence and kindness. So I'm really kind of ruminating on how can I have a broader discussion around the impact of Bill Cosby's missteps, because I think it has reverberated throughout the comedy scene. I do feel like there's a level of skepticism when you don't use language. It's like, yeah, this guy didn't cuss, but what is he doing off stage? Like, what impropriety is he involved with? What type of nefarious activity he's participating in? And I'm not doing anything nefarious, but I think there's a great opportunity to have that discussion. So I'll delve more into that, and maybe you'll see some more material content around why integrity matters and why we should be talking about reputation and being congruent. What you see is what you get, and I'm not very far different than the guy that you see on stage. And that's all not always the case. Like oftentimes people create a stick, a personality on stage. I was just watching this really great interview with Jerry Seinfeld's podcast episode, and I'm the type of person. It was so edifying. It was so illuminating. I'll listen to the rest of this podcast and they won't watch another episode of another person because it's not Jerry Seinfeld. But it's like, no, these are good interviews. Like, you should listen to more of these more regularly. But something in me that's like, oh, that was so good. I'm gonna wait another 6 months to watch it again, to watch something else similar. So yeah, I'm gonna really take some time and decipher the conversation that I should be having in comedy and on stage as it relates to like my brand of comedy. Because again, I talked a little bit about this. I don't want to be anti-comedy. Like, I'm just a version of comedy that you can enjoy. Like, if you don't like dirty comedy, I'm not here to be like, I'm the answer to those of you that hate dirty. No. If you don't like dirty comedy, you would hopefully love my comedy, but I'm not wagging my finger at the dirty comics like, ooh, shame on you. I'm like, hey man, do what you do. I want you to be a fan of Mike Goodwin and Cat Williams. I think that's what is not beautiful is the new Apple update that gives you a big old headshot of the person that's calling you. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them at all. I don't even do FaceTime. So is there a way for me to disable this picture? Matter of fact, my sister picture comes up on my phone and she got part of her cleavage showing. And I don't want to see that. And I know my sister have had cleavage for a long time. My sister's the mother. She got kids. So I know she's doing stuff with a cleavage. But that ain't none of my business. I have no interest in this. So Apple, anybody, tell me how not to see my sister cleavage on my phone when she calls me. Can somebody tell me that? Shout out to Jennifer Jasper. We got the giveaway going. God ain't petty, but I am. And we doing a giveaway, but I hadn't gotten any submissions. And I told y'all if I don't get submissions, I'm gonna rock the gear. Speaking of gear, got this new nice watch, man. So there's a watch company, Tally and Twine, man. I'm not even getting paid for none of this. I'm not an ambassador or nothing, but this is my second timepiece from them. And I am so enamored with this piece of time, this man assembly, what's this? Not assembly, accessory. This male accessory. So now I got a silver one. My wife bought me one for my birthday, which she asked me, was I getting the one that she already bought? I'm like, that's madness. Why would I do that? Then I have an all black one. Also, the one my wife is getting me is gold with a blue face. So I have all black. I have this silver, and I got gold with the blue face coming. Man, shout out to Tally and Twine. I'm not getting paid for any of this. All right, y'all. We're gonna wrap this up, and see y'all next week, man. This has been I like the new format. I like starting off with the best advice ever. That was some advice somebody gave me. Hey, quit trying to hide the best advice inside the podcast. Let's come out the gate with it. Tell me how you like it. Also, I've moved. We have a YouTube page that's just the podcast. Just the podcast is the best advice ever. I think it's even in TBAE with Mike Goodwin. It may just be that. Like, just do TBAE with Mike Goodwin, and you'll be able to find the most recent episode, and then we'll put all the other episodes up on that Facebook page. Not Facebook page, YouTube page. Because we kind of messing with the algorithm on my comedian Mike Goodwin page, and the content was a little bit different than the stand-up stuff that we were posting. But yeah, man, shoot me a message. I'm at info@comedianmikegoodwin.com. If you like the show, make a review, leave a review, do the things, man. Tell people about the podcast. Folks, from what I understand, I think people enjoy it, but I would like to get some more testimonials. I would like to get some more feedback. But thank y'all. Hopefully this will get you through a Stairmaster session. My cardio sessions, I've moved them to 20 minutes now. So I would have one of these episodes in some time to spare. I may be driving home. I can get a full episode in. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'll see y'all next week, man. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. And I appreciate it. See you next week. Same bat place, same bat channel. Peace.